Call his name Yezreel, for in a little while I will avenge the bloodshed of Yezreel on the house of Yahuwah, and bring an end to the kingdom of the house of Israel. It shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Yezreel, meaning the strength in war. That I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Yezreel. Here, verse 5 in Hebrew. Remember that in the end, the last comes as the bow, while Yahushua HaMashiach is the sword. So, in a way, this could be seen as the fact that the last would have to die when he would appear as the bow, and where he would die would be as the Valley of Yezreel. In Revelation 11, we see that the two witnesses are killed in the same place that their sovereign, Mashiach Yahushua, was killed. So in the same place where Yahushua was planted, the seed of Yahweh was planted, Yezreel, is where the two witnesses will be killed, meaning the bow, the witness like Moshe, will be broken. He who comes to fight for Israel. So in Joshua 17:16 it says, but the children of Joseph said, the mountain country is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites who dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, both those who are of Beth Shean and its towns, and those who are of the valley of Yezreel. In Judges 6:33 we see where the Midianites and the Amalekites camped in that valley, and that part when they camped there is when they were fighting Gideon, or Gidon in Hebrew, and Yahweh used him with 300 people to fight a army that could not be counted, and that represents how the last comes. Gideon was a descendant of Joseph, so it represents the last who has to fight the world pretty much through the doctrine, through the teaching, and he will be hated, and he, like, his name was changed also, or he received a title which meant he who fights or contends with Baal, because he represents how the last comes and fights with him whom the whole people worship as a Lord, and Lord in Hebrew is Baal. So Gideon contended with Baal, and that's why he was given the name Yerubbaal. So that represents the last, how the whole world will get against him, and as Midianites and Amalekites who camped to come and fight against him, well, against Israel, in the valley of Yezreel, where we see here that Yahweh is mentioning in this prophecy. It shall come to pass in that day that I will break the bow of Israel in the valley of Yezreel. So like I said, spiritually we can see what we read in Revelation 11, that the two witnesses will be killed in the same place that Yahushua was killed.